My name is Leon Kettle. I am currently 22 years old and I'm from Newcastle upon Tyne, born and bred Geordie. I had quite a strict upbringing, to be fair. Like my mum's quite an authoritarian, which is I think served me well like in my life. But I had quite a normal English childhood, to be honest. My childhood was very much sort of school focused. I had a lot of homework when I was a kid. I always used to feel like I was doing some sort of like history project or something like that. And my childhood was pretty much that and me jumping around, and I still jump around today. So since about 14 or 15 years old, I've done parkour, which is essentially the official definition is like getting from A to B quickly, but it's basically just jumping and flipping around. I used to make videos doing that sort of thing. Made quite a lot of friends through it. I've actually got a Muslim friend through that who I still see today. He's from Malaysia. He's a pretty nice guy. My family structure growing up was, well, originally it was like my mum, my dad, me and my brother sort of living together, and then when my parents split up when I was about 12, it was just me, my mum and my brother. I think that's quite a important part of who I've become today, because a lot of who I am is as a result of my mum's upbringing and my mum's values that she instilled in me. The strict upbringing has definitely made me be harsh on myself, but like harsh in a productive way, as well as sometimes in a maybe too much. But it means that I'm when I go for something, I'm disciplined in it. You know, consistency is an important part of making something work in the long term, and I feel like when I get into something, I'm consistent in it, and that's a result of that strict upbringing. Like I've always been taught to like respect a righteous authority as well, and so like someone who's obviously not abusing their power. But that's, if I didn't have the mum that I do, I think I'd have more of a like sort of rebellious nature, but it's just not there. It really isn't there. Yeah, it's made me a disciplined person for sure. So in regards to the religion, like that I grew up around, there's the sort of stereotypical, I want to say like bumper sticker Christian sort of element, because I would say at the time when I was growing up, that's how my mum might have identified herself, as a Christian, but beyond that, maybe nothing else. My mum talked about religion a lot. Religion was a topic that was always on my mind, especially like when I reached the ages of 13 or 14, but I wasn't baptized. I wasn't raised in sort of the presence of anyone praying or anything like that. The exception is that my auntie is quite religious, but she lives in South Africa, so I never got to see that. So my first ever interaction with Islam that I can sort of clearly recall was with a good friend who I had, who was a Muslim, and he was a very strong Muslim, as in he practiced, he had I feel a clear understanding of what the foundations of Islam was at quite a young age. Or that's what my perception was at the time. So that was when I was about 14. The first time 14 was probably the age where I first ever really thought about things like, why do we exist? Is there any sort of collective purpose to humanity? What's morality? Those sort of things. And we had this sort of like a rows of two in RE class, and me and the Muslim friend sat together, and there was a couple of other friends that we knew that sat in front of us. and we would often sit for like the time where we weren't doing the work, discussing those questions of morality, like what are the questions of the purpose of life. And that is what first brought me to learn about Islam. Within the space of a few weeks, the questions of what's the purpose of life came to be, what's Islam all about? What is this religion that I've not really heard too much about? And we had a lot of discussions about that, and it was actually in classes where we were learning about Hinduism where I asked that, so I can't really remember too much about Hinduism because I spent so much time talking about Islam. Okay, the reason there's a large gap between the age of 14 and the age of 21 where I officially sort of went, right, okay, I'm a Muslim now, taking my Shahada and so forth, is, so from the period of 14 to 16 or 17, let's say, I was learning bits and bobs about Islam from this friend that I had, reading bits of Quran. He lent me a Quran at the time, well, he gave me one actually. Yeah, I learned a lot about Islam in those 3 years, but at the same time I had a girlfriend who I was quite serious about, and it was from the start, like from the very start of learning about Islam, I also had that girlfriend, so it was weighing up, the two couldn't exist together, and I became aware of that the more time came to pass. And actually what ended up happening was I was given kind of an ultimatum about it, like an unspoken ultimatum, and I actually at the time had my contentions with Islam still. I'd never really went to the mosque or anything at that time because I was a kid, and my mum was concerned about it because she knew that I was impressionable still. She was like, learn bits but take it slow, take it easy. So I still had contentions. I remember I always used to think about why women inherited less than men. I never could understand that when I was like 15 years old, naturally, I suppose. So I collected these contentions together and put them as a reason why I would sort of choose my girlfriend over the religion at the time. So that's what happened when I was 17. I kind of just left it. So as soon as I made the decision to essentially put my girlfriend before the religion that I was becoming very familiar with, that things started going downhill. The relationship had some very serious things that happened in it, and it went to dust within about 6 months. And then I went to uni straight after that, got into another relationship really quickly after that, and then exactly the same thing in a different way happened with that relationship. So that's when I'm about 20 years old, and I thought, the cycle's repeating itself here. And then it nearly did again. I thought, right, it's about time I look into Islam again, because since I made the decision to put it on the back burner, things had not been working out how I'd wanted to. I didn't feel a sort of contentment with my life in the way that I had back then. The turning point where I realised that Islam was the truth and what I wanted to follow in my life was during lockdown. Lockdown, I believe, was the reason that I was brought towards that. Like, it forced me to slow my life down, because naturally I'm a person who likes to just sort of have life at a high pace. And it really forced that slowing down of life and reflection. So I think I had sort of 2 points in my life where I was like ready to take the plunge, but in 2 different ways in terms of coming to Islam properly. The first one was in the lockdown, I had obviously had that time when I was in school where I'd learnt about the religion, and the fact that the concept of Tawheed, of the oneness of Allah, was so important to Islam. I feel like if that wasn't the way it was, I wouldn't have accepted the religion, because I've always really believed in a God, but I've never understood God's representation in any religion other than Islam, or I've never agreed with it, so to speak. So that was a big sort of plunging moment. And the more I learnt about that in a formal manner in lockdown, the more I was like, this is the religion I want to sort of, the more I was like, this is the religion I want to be a part of. The second plunger moment was when I actually started to go to the mosque, actually, because a lot of my experience with Islam up until 10 months ago, apart from those conversations with my friend in school, was in solitude. It was learning about it in the Quran. It was maybe watching YouTube videos, reading things online, that sort of thing. And I actually learned how to pray through like Quora, something ridiculous like that. So when I first came to the mosque, it was a really sort of monumental moment, because I was like, wow, all of these things I've been reading about and agreeing with now have a physical manifestation. And as soon as that was there, I felt more ready. And then when I was presented with the opportunity to take my Shahada, I just jumped on it because of that. One thing that really took me aback right at the start was the emphasis on community and brotherhood. It really, honestly, did take me aback. There's never really been a great importance placed on that in any sort of, there's never been a great importance placed on community to me in my life before this, in the way that it has been now. Like, I remember once going to a mosque and eating with everybody, just on the floor, and I loved the simplicity of that, and like loads of people were having conversations with each other, having a chat with me, and it was just really nice to see that people were interested to talk to people. I think you can find in this day and age that people maybe aren't interested to talk to each other that much sometimes. So the importance placed on brotherhood was really, warm. It was really nice. I enjoyed it at the start.